Wow, WrestleMania 30 from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. And this show started off with a great WrestleMania moment, including three of my all-time favorites. Hulk Hogan, the Immortal One, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the Great One, the People's Champ, the Brahma Bull, The Rock. And Hogan's out there first, and he must have had a little touch of amnesia or something because he's confusing the Superdome with the Silver Dome. And he said it twice. It's like, yeah, like Hulkster, I know you're like 60, 61 years old, but you got to remember where you are, man. But he did end up making a nice save talking about Andre the Giant in the Silverdome at WrestleMania 3. So he made a nice save there after the crowd started booing him. Then Stone Cold's out there, and he got a monster pop, as he always does. And he's kind of getting into Hogan's face like, hey, if you wanted me to break open a big fat can of whoop ass on Hulk Hogan, give me a hell yeah. That was good too. And then The Rock coming out there talking about his great friend Stone Cold and his childhood hero Hulk Hogan. And this, you talk about mark out moments, and this is definitely one for me, and it probably is for a lot of people, especially when I grew up in the Hogan era, and then going through my 30s in the Attitude Era. So they each give their ending catchphrases, and this was a totally epic segment, especially for old school fans like myself, and it was great. I loved it. Oh, okay, so your opening match was the match I believe had to start off the show, and that was Daniel Bryan against Triple H. And before the match started, they had this nice little video package on Daniel Bryan, how he came up through the independents and coming up and through ROH, and then coming into NXT back in 2010 and being part of the Nexus, and then getting fired, and then being brought back at SummerSlam 2010. And I mean, this showed his struggle up the ladder and getting into the big show. But this match was great. This was one of the highlights of the show for me. I mean, when you only have 7 matches on the original card, like on the actual card, yeah, some of these matches are gonna go quite a long time. But one thing I did like about this was Triple H doing the crossface chicken wing and ode to Mr. Bob Backlund. That was very nice. But when Triple H when he was sitting in his little throne on the stage there, he must have borrowed Big Papa Pump's headdress or something. But that was still good. And I mean, the storytelling elements of this were excellent. I don't remember exactly how long it went, but it went quite a long time. It got plenty of time for sure. And Daniel Bryan goes over 100% clean on God. So this was, like I said, it was a great match to open up the show, and the crowd was really revved up for it. Unlike other matches that came out later in the show. Alright, so your next match was the 6-man tag with the Shield against Kane and the New Age Outlaws. I think this was basically a reason to get the Outlaws one more big payday out of WrestleMania. And this is nothing more than really a borderline squash. The Shield pulled off a double-triple powerbomb on the Outlaws, and so that's probably going to be their swan song. But still, a double-triple powerbomb, that was sweet. Then you had a nice little legend segment in the backstage area with kind of the usual suspects. You had your Sergeant Slaughter and your Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh! Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was on there. Dangerous Danny Davis was on here. I haven't seen him in frickin' forever, man. And then the $1 Million Man with that awesome laugh. Everybody got a price for the $1 Million Man. Alright, so next was the first annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And this would be a match for somebody to get a big, they could get a big bump out of this. And oh boy, that's what we got. And there's one thing about Royal Rumbles and WrestleManias about Kofi Kingston. He always seems to come up with a big spot in one of those shows. And this show was no exception, where Cesaro threw him out of the ring, but his feet didn't hit the floor because they hit the ring steps. So he was not eliminated, and God, he just comes up with this like every year, and that's probably going to be Kofi's legacy, is that he comes up with these big spots at Royal Rumbles and WrestleManias, even if he never becomes a big time champion. Yeah, sure, he's been the U.S. champion and IC champion before, but he's never had the big title, and in my guess, he probably never will. But what it comes down to is Cesaro and the Big Show. And Cesaro, I have said, is pound for pound probably the strongest guy in WWE. Oh, and he damn sure proved it, because he picked up Big Show and threw him out of the ring to win the Battle Royal like it was nothing. I mean, Big Show was probably, 425? And Cesaro's probably about 230, but Cesaro is pound for pound the strongest guy in WWE, and he certainly proved it here. And this is what I believe it's going to be a big time babyface push for Cesaro after he kind of blew off Zeb and Jack Swagger. So I am totally in favor of this. It's great to have a guy like Cesaro putting him into this situation, and I think the sky's the limit for this guy. Okay, here's your next match: John Cena against Bray Wyatt. And yes, there's been quite a good build to this, like with this feud and all. And there's great storytelling elements into this match. But because Bray's trying to get the monster out of Cena, and it just looked like during parts of this match where Cena was just really conflicted. Like using the steps on him and using a chair on him. I mean, Bray's basically trying to get it out of him. But no. I mean, they both hit their finishers once and they both kicked out. But Bray goes for the Sister Abigail again. And then what you get is Super Cena. And Cena wins clean 100%. No. I wouldn't even care if Cena won at Extreme Rules if they have another match, but Cena did not need the victory here. This was bullshit. Bray Wyatt needed to win this match. I mean, my boy the Schlug Daddy, he's always talking about having signature victories at Big Four pay-per-views. Like, Cena did not need this victory. Bray Wyatt is the guy that needs this victory. If you're gonna build up Bray Wyatt to be, if you're going to build him up to be a big-time player in the near future, or in the years coming up, Bray Wyatt needed this victory. John Cena did not. All right, then they introduced the Hall of Fame class for 2014. I mean, to me, this is one of the best classes of all time. Kind of ranking right up there with the 2005 class, I think, with Jake the Snake Roberts and Razor Ramon, and what Diamond Dallas Page has done with these two is like nothing short of a miracle. I mean, because they were both probably near the brink of death. I mean, seriously. But what DDP has done with these two is just like nothing short of amazing. Then you got Lita. Yes, that was very well deserved. The Ultimate Warrior. Yes, very, very well deserved. Then the celebrity inductee, Mr. T. I mean, it's only fitting he goes in on the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania, since he was in that main event with Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. All the other members of that are in the WWE Hall of Fame. And Carlos Colon, probably one of the best wrestlers to ever come out of Puerto Rico, and maybe one of the most controversial. And then the late, great Paul Bearer. Oh, the show really went downhill with John Cena beating Bray Wyatt in the previous match. But then we got this match. Oh my god. This is hard for me to even talk about. Undertaker against Brock Lesnar. This is what you get when you have a shitty build into a shitty match, and you have a shitty finish, shitty booking decision. Pretty much everything about this match was shitty. I don't know really whose ultimate decision it was to have Undertaker drop the streak, especially to Brock Lesnar. Oh my gosh. This is something I cannot understand and will not understand. Why do you have a guy who walked out of your company 10 years ago and give him the honor of being the guy that breaks the streak? You know, I would have understood this more if it was John fucking Cena. I wouldn't have liked that either, but at least John Cena's there all the damn time, which is more than you can say for Brock fucking Lesnar. Or if you're gonna go a different way about this, hell, maybe give it to a younger guy like a Roman Reigns or somebody like that, or maybe a Cesaro or somebody like that. You know, I mean, yeah, Cesaro's a little bit older than Roman, but still. But you give the ending of the streak to Brock Lesnar. Oh my gosh, this just makes no sense at all. I mean, if this was Undertaker's call, then I guess you'd have to respect it, but I sure as hell wouldn't like it. I don't know if this was McMahon's call or whose call this was, but this was stupid. Okay. On that note, we have the Divas 14. There's like 14 Divas going for the Diva title. And once again, AJ Lee wins, tapping out Naomi. Oh boy. So before Daniel Bryan gets into the triple threat main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, one thing I didn't mention about the original match there against Triple H. Stephanie slapped him about 4 different times. Triple H attacks him from behind and slams a chair into his shoulder with a chair on the outside, and it's just another obstacle for Daniel Bryan to overcome. So now he's into the triple threat with Randall, Keith Orton, and Batista, and more obstacles for Daniel Bryan to overcome in this. Triple H and Steph come out later on in the match, and they pull the original ref out of the ring, and what do you know? You got the return of the crooked ref Scott Armstrong, the hard body ref, if you will. And there's a nice little nice little double team move out on the outside between Randy Orton and Batista. Kind of a Batista bomb into an RKO. Breaks the Spanish announce table, but Randy Orton took a nice hell of a bump on one of those monitors outside that was thrown out earlier. And with all this going on, Triple H ends up getting nailed with a sledgehammer they grabbed out earlier. And lo and behold, Daniel Bryan overcomes everything, and he submits Batista with the yes lock after the running knee, and your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion is Daniel Bryan. Yes, yes, yes. And you know what? With all the bullshit that happened earlier on in the show, this is the only way they could go with this. Because I'll tell you what, and I mentioned this on Twitter, it's like, if you wanted to start a riot inside the Superdome that night, have Daniel Bryan lose to Batista. Oh my god. After Cena beating Bray Wyatt and AJ retaining and Brock Lesnar breaking the streak, you would have had a riot of epic proportions inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And as far as my final thoughts on this WrestleMania 30, it's a really a lot bittersweet. I mean, sure, Daniel Bryan gets his WrestleMania moment and he wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but at what cost? I mean, Undertaker losing the streak to Brock fucking Lesnar. AJ Lee is still your Divas champ. And Cena becomes Super Cena yet again against Bray Wyatt when he should have had no business winning the match. But as far as like what happened before, but the Daniel Bryan Triple H match was probably the highlight of the card as far as match quality goes. Then the Shield winning, that was more or less a squash, and then Cesaro making what looks like to be a babyface turn after winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I thought that was very good. And when Big Show putting him over and shaking his hand afterwards, and Cesaro making a babyface turn, this was long overdue in my opinion. This should have happened probably about a month or two ago, but hey, at least we're getting it now. We're getting it now on a big stage, so. I am Marvelous Mark, and I plan to do these Raw reviews and pay-per-view reviews more often now that they're going to be on the WWE Network and all, which I have, so I plan to do these more often, so bye-bye.